Madworld.
Hey, I've gotten sick in between the last episode and this one, so let's see how this goes. The third game I played for Wii-Cember is Madworld. Madworld is one of those games that sticks out in my head from its distinctly striking black, white, and red visual style. I remember seeing previews for it in the Nintendo Power magazines I would get when I was younger, but outside of that, I never really looked into it much. So I was somewhat surprised to realize upon booting it up that it was developed by Platinum Games. In Madworld, you play as Jack, a mysterious character with a shady past who is a contestant on a reality murder show called Death Watch. The objective of Death Watch is to score points by killing people in exceedingly over-the-top fashion. Once certain point thresholds have been achieved, Jack gets to participate in various murder mini-games that eventually culminate in a final showdown against a higher-ranked contestant. Once they have been dispatched, it's on to the next match until you climb your way to the top. If you can't tell from the gameplay and that premise, Madworld is over the top to the point of being nonsensical. At first I was on board with this crazy killfest reality show premise. Rising through the ranks and taking on interesting looking bosses reminded me of a Suda 5-1 game, particularly No More Heroes, of which I'm a fan. But as the onion unraveled, I found myself getting less and less interested. Madworld feels like a parody of a hyper-violent cartoon, or a fake violent video game you would see some kid in a movie playing. The dialogue, while having the occasional funny line, comes off as edgy and a bit dated. It's essentially all swearing and sex jokes, which gets old pretty fast.
All you got to do to turn some motherfucker out is toss his punk ass in front of the train and watch it get reamed at 120 miles per hour, which is incidentally only about as half as fast as I do my reaming. Ain't that right, Leo? Yeah, come on, get behind Daddy's shoulder. Stop now!
A lot of the dialogue comes from the in-universe match commentators, but the audio mixing isn't great, so half the time you can't even hear what they're saying anyway.
Motorcycles are still the safest form of transportation. Fuck no! More people die.
Story-wise, Madworld offers a bit of a mystery to unravel and some interesting character moments, but overall the story just seems kinda pointless. The story is essentially told entirely separate from the gameplay. The graphic novel cutscenes are interesting for the most part, but it seems like they were running out of budget towards the end because the cutscenes start to get way more static as the game nears its conclusion. I wouldn't say the story was bad, and there are definitely interesting hooks that Platinum could expand on should they ever decide to revisit this IP, but due to the story feeling completely disjointed from the gameplay, I found myself not being as invested as I should have been. Levels in Madworld are structured like multi-layered combat arenas. Numerous traps are placed around every corner, from spike walls to rolling crushers. Street signs, tires, and other objects decorate the arenas that can be used as makeshift weapons. In addition to the items and traps, Jack has a basic punch combo, a backflip dodge move, and of course, a chainsaw arm. In order to score the most points, you will want to utilize attacking with items and traps and various combos to bring death to your opponents. Sure, you could just rev up Jack's chainsaw arm for a quick kill, but it won't net you many points compared to spiking an enemy with a street sign and tossing them in front of a moving train. Points are what allow you to progress through each stage of a level. Most levels have a 30-minute timer, which you must complete all of your objectives within. Throughout the course of the game, I never once ran out of time, so it wasn't much of a consideration I was actively thinking about while playing. Once you have racked up a certain amount of points, you get to participate in a mini-game which essentially has you killing more fodder enemies in a specific way, like using a baseball bat to hit them onto a giant target. These are fun enough to shake up the gameplay briefly, but towards the end of the game they just start reusing the mini-games, which makes it seem like they just kinda ran out of ideas. In general, as the game goes on, it doesn't evolve in a meaningful way and starts to lose steam as a result. There isn't a character progression system, you don't unlock new abilities or level up Jack in any way, which would be fine if the gameplay felt like it was introducing new concepts and things to do, but you really just smash the same enemies into spikes all the way to the end of the game. While the visual style of the game is striking, it also makes certain enemy attacks hard to read. You do have the dodge mechanic, but I honestly forgot I even had that move until later in the game when enemies started dealing a lot more damage. Some sort of block move or a parry would have been nice. The motion control implementation was pretty simple, which was fun enough, but it also felt like it just kind of devolved into waggling the Wii remote and the nunchuck like crazy. The one area of the gameplay I did enjoy were the boss fights. The other contestants all had unique visual designs and personalities, as well as having unique mechanics and strategies you needed to work around in order to best them in battle. They sort of just appear at the end of the level with little build-up, so I would have enjoyed to see them pop up in the levels themselves a bit more, maybe taunting you as you get closer to the final battle, but gameplay-wise, I think I had the most fun in Madworld fighting its eccentric boss fights. Overall, Madworld is a bit of a mixed bag. It has incredible visual flair and has some truly fun boss fights, but the other aspects of the game could have used more variety and refinement. The game isn't terribly long, but it was starting to overstay its welcome by the end. Despite any gripes I may have, I would be interested if Platinum decided to put out a new Madworld, so long as they pull back a bit on the edgy dialogue. Thanks for watching Respawn Station Wii-Cember. If you enjoyed, be sure to subscribe to see how many more of my random unplayed Wii games I can get through before the end of the month. And while you're at it, check out RespawnStation.com for interviews, game reviews, guides, and more.